Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in the last video we looked at the architectural model. I showed you how to add the various architectural components. Now in this video we are going to be looking at the structural model, and one cool thing is we are going to be importing the architectural model and using it as a reference so that we place everything in the structural model in line. So as usual, let's go to models, click on new and choose a template. So I go back one step. This time we're going to be choosing a structural analysis template. So I scroll till I see structural analysis, and I'm going to be using this particular one. Alright, now you see, because we are using a different template file, you can already tell that we no more have any architectural plans. We only have structural plans here. We maybe have some level 1 analytical, level 2 analytical, and sites. So these two analytical views would come in structural analysis, but we don't need them, so I'm going to delete them. I'm also going to delete the sites plan. Alright, now let's insert the Revit file of the architectural model. So I go to insert here, and instead of choosing link card or import card as usual, I go to link Revit and I browse to where I have the architectural model saved. So I have mine over here. Alright, and yeah, architectural model has been imported. If I go to my 3D view, I see it here. The reason for not seeing any walls and doors is that our discipline is set to structural. If I change this to something like coordination, yes, now you can see the windows, can see the doors, can see the walls. Alright, let's work on the levels. So we go to an elevation view, like a north elevation, and you see all the levels from the architectural file. I also show in here. Now Revit has a cool feature, right, in the collaborate tab, where we can actually copy stuff like the levels and the grids from a linked Revit file. And you see that when you go to collaborate, you have stuff like work sharing, you have copy monitor, you even have interference check. So think of work sharing as being able to collaborate with other individuals in a project. So if you are in a company, for example, and you have a central server, right, you can have a central model, and you can have individual project files where everyone would have maybe a separate project file. One person could be working on first floor, another on the second floor, another on the third floor, separate files. Then at the end of the day, you could sync all your changes with a central model. So if anyone wants to take the central model, they'll have information from what you did and what someone else did, right, all synced on the internet in the central model. That's where work sharing comes in. Now copy monitor is how you're able to copy stuff from a linked Revit file, and yeah, you already know what interference check would be doing. So if some stuff in the mechanical model would be overlapping with stuff in, let's say, the structural model or the architectural model, this is how you check. Alright, so anyway, let's click on copy / monitor and select link. Now I just bring my mouse pointer around here and click on copy again, and now I can simply click on the levels in the architectural model, and as you can see, they are being added. Lower roof, upper roof. I'll change my scale to something like this. Good, so I can see everything. Now I'm going to rename this. Okay, when you're done, click on finish. I'm going to rename this one to ground level, like that. Then I'm going to delete this. I don't need it anymore. And yeah, we have all of the levels. Now let's do the same thing for the grids. So I see a structural plan, ground level. We are not going to use this anyway, but we are not going to use this plan view anyway, but we just wanted to add the grids. So I go again to copy monitor, select link, click here, go to copy, and I can click on the grid lines. Just like this. And all the grid lines have been added. So if I was to go to view, plan views, and this time select structural plan, don't go with floor plan. Select structural plan, select ground floor, first floor, lower roof, second floor, select all of these. I can see that they've been added here. So if I go to ground floor, this is what I have. If I was to set my discipline to coordination, yeah, you can see everything. But I'll change this back to structural. Now, if you want to be able to make changes to any imported files, so a DWG or a Revit file, you go to insert like this, go to manage links, and all of them will be displayed over here. For now, I want us to turn off this one, so you could either unload it, or as usual we use VG, go to imported categories, we go to Revit links, and we can turn this off. It turns off just for this particular view, right? But if you want to turn it off immediately for all the views, we can simply unload it like this, and yeah, it's no more here. What we're going to do now is to import the DWGs of the structural model. So I actually worked on a structural model in Revit, so I'm going to import CAD, and I'm going to be leaving a link to the files in the description just in case anyone wants to download them. And I have them over here. So ground floor, go to ground floor, and yeah, it's been imported successfully. So I go to first floor, I also import first floor, second floor, go to third floor, import CAD. I have third floor here. Import, go to service floor. I'll go to the first one for now. And upper roof. Good. I have upper roof here. For now, we're not going to import the foundation level. We'll work on that later. So it seems like I have all the levels I need for now. So let's go to ground floor and start placing the structural components. Now we have some columns here. You have some beams as well. We have the slab. The staircase is already in the architectural model, so we are not going to be placing it again, right? So this time we're not going to be using the architecture tab. It's going to be the structural tab. So make sure you are here. We are going to start with the columns. Now let's first measure the dimensions of this column. So 225, 450. Alright. At any point, if you feel like your lines are too thin, you can disable these thin lines. And yeah, everything will be thick. Some will have some line weights like this. Now before we place the columns, just to make life easier, I'm going to open my structural model. So this is it. I actually rendered this using Lumion. I'll open the structural model and quickly check the column types. So C1, start from ground floor, is first, second, third, and it ends at the service floor. Alright. So everywhere we have C1, we know that it goes from ground to service floor. We also have C2 here. So let's see where C2 reaches. Okay, so C2 is just from ground to first floor. Alright. I can close this. And the dimensions were 450 by 225. So I go to structure, click on column. And we're not going to be using this universal beam. We're going to be using a rectangular column, concrete. So I click on this one, edit type, duplicate. And we're going to be creating a 450 by 225 column. And I change the dimensions. So 225, this is already 450. Click on OK. And I can place it. But you see, there's no proper reference. So I can click here. Let me switch back to thin lines. I can click here, place it, and I can use either align or move. So if I use align, I click where I want it to be aligned to, click again, click here, click again. And our column has been moved to that point, like that. So our column is here. Then I can now copy this to any place where I see C1, like that. Now, when you're doing stuff like this, I recommend that you keep thin lines off, because if you have, so you keep thin lines on, because if you have thin lines off and your lines are thick like this, sometimes your column might be slightly out of place, but you didn't be able to tell. But I'm doing it like this so that you guys will be able to follow, you'll be able to see everything. So C1 here. Okay, so now we have a C1 in a different orientation. We'll come back to this one, but for now, let's continue placing like that. We also have another C1 here. Now we need to rotate. C1. Okay, so this is C2. Now C2 goes from the ground floor to the first floor. So what I'll do is I'm first going to select all the columns we've placed so far. In fact, let me delete this. I select all of them. The best thing to do right now would be to rename all of these columns. So instead of the 450 by 225, you're going to change them to C1. So I'll edit type, go to rename, change this to C1, like that. And yeah, you see now that it's showing C1. I'm going to copy this anyway, bring it here, back to where we have C2. I click on this one, edit type, duplicate, and I name this one C2. So now we have two column types. We have C1, C2. Then I change the top level of this one to first floor, like that. Now it seems like I didn't set the top level of these columns. I'm going to change that now, so I can select all instances visible in view. I change the top level to service floor, change base level to ground floor, like that. All of them have been moved. Yes, and you can even see that some of them are slightly off the position. We'll correct all of them. So we have a C1 here anyway. I choose copy, bring this here, and we have a C2. So I copy this one. Now I'm using a copy command, that's CO. Alright, now we have this. So we are going to align the rest of them. I'll turn on thin lines so I can see all the lines clearly. All right, now with these ones I could just simply select the column and press spacebar and it will be rotated. Then I could align again like that. So I do the same here, press spacebar, AL, select here, then there, and it's okay now. And we align this one. This one is ever so slightly out of position. Alright, now it seems like we have all of our columns added and at the right positions. Good. Let's work on the beams now. I see here that the beams are 300 by 150. We don't have any different beam type again. So go to structure, click on beam, and we change this to a rectangular beam. So I choose this one and I can edit type, duplicate, and we want a 300 by 150 beam like that. So I change this to 150, change that to 300, and we can start drawing the beam. So it starts here, goes all the way to this side, next one like that, ends here, starts here, goes here, alright. Now let's add the horizontal ones. Okay, and the vertical ones. This goes all the way to here. Good. So what we're missing now is a slab. So you go to structure, go to floor. You are placing a structural floor. So we select this. Don't select architectural. And the default one we have is a generic 300 mm slab, but this is not what we want. So we edit type, duplicate, and you can even name this floor slab. Oh, sorry. Make this 150 mm like that, and we will change the thickness to 150. I'll go with rectangle, just drag over here, and on the ground floor that should be it. So let's look at it in 3D. Let's change this to hidden line, and we can use VV to turn off the DWGs, and this is what we have. We can turn on, can smooth the lines, cast some shadows. This is what we have. Alright, this is okay. Now let's change where the C2 starts to ground floor like that. Don't be thinking about the foundation for now. Yeah, we'll get there. Now let's go to first floor, and I can tell that the layout of the first floor is slightly different from that of the ground floor. I could copy the beams right, and the slab from the ground floor to the first floor and make changes. Now don't copy the columns, because remember the columns already go from the ground to the service floor. If you copy, you'll be having a new set of columns there. That's not how it should be done. So to select all the beams and the slab, I'll simply drag all the way all over it, then go to filter, check none. So I choose floors, and when it comes to beams, they will be in the structural framing category. So I see two. Make sure you select all the two like this. So floors and framing. Don't select columns. I apply, then I copy over here, paste, align to selected levels, and select just the first floor. Alright, so in the first floor, let me change my scale to 1:50. This is what I have. Let's look at the beams first. Now you see that the beams are now 450 by 225. So I can select one beam, edit type, duplicate, change this to 450, 225, like this. Make this 225, this one 450, apply, and the beam has been changed like that. So I move it into position. Let's see. Now I'll do the same with all the other beams. So I can right click, select for instances only visible in view, not in the entire project. So visible in view. Then I change to 450 by 225. Alright. So what we're going to be doing is we'll look for the beams that are out of place, like this one. Right click, use MV, move into place. Select this, MV, move into place. This one too, move into place. Alright, the beam arrangement is also a bit different, so let's quickly check. This one seems to be fine. Yeah, so there's an extension here. I'll drag this here like that. Drag this one too. There's also a new beam here. So I select this, type CS, and I draw it like that. Okay, the position is okay. It's okay. I also extend this one down here. Extend this one to here. There's some new beams in this side. So I drag this one all the way here. Type CS. Draw the new ones here. And here. Now let's position them well and turn on thin lines. I'll drag this here. Drag this onto here. Use CS. Okay, this one. Like that. Use MV. Drag down. Extend this one here. Use CS again. Draw this one. And drag this one here as well. And do the same here. Okay, so it looks like we have every beam on the first floor. I'll move this one. Okay, now it's in line with the column. Let's work on the slab now. So I can select it, edit a boundary, and you can see that there are some extensions of the slab here. We have a balcony. Because this is a structural model, the material is going to be the same. So you can actually edit this shape without adding an entirely new slab. So I can pick lines, just pick these ones like that. I use TR trim and start trimming like that. So we have some other lines here. I create them and trim like that. On join elements, select pick lines again. Yeah, don't worry about the warning. So I'll trim again like that, and we have the shape over here. Let's work on the bottom side. So pick lines, TR, yes, and I have this. Do the same on the other side. It seems like I created another line in duplicate, so I've deleted it. That's what we have. Now we can add the space for the staircase. Let's, okay, I'll use this. You can always adjust it, so it's fine. Okay, so it shows that I have some conflicts here. Alright, so I'll trim extend, and yeah, everything has been drawn nicely. So let's go to the 3D view, and this is what we have. Good, it's looking nice. Now at this point, we could actually go back to insert, manage links. So you see we have the structural plans here, then we have this one. I can reload it, and yeah, so the structural and architectural models are all showing. Now one thing we can do is we can set this to either overlay or attachment, and at the same time, if we go to VV, we go to Revit links, you can make this half tone. So if I change it to half tone, it's now a shade lighter, right? And the structural components are deep black. I could change this again. So I use VV. I can make it underlay. When I use underlay, now it's even faint, quite faint, right? So you pick your poison. You can change the display settings as well. You want to change any of these stuff, the color fill, object styles, all of that. So I can make the architectural model a different color actually. But anyway, let's still unload it for now and go back to first floor. So now that we are done with the first floor, we can copy this. Seems like from the first floor to the third floor we have the same layout. So I select everything, filter, check none. I select just the framing and the floors. I'm not going to select columns, remember. And I see that we also have a C3 over here. Don't worry about that. So we'll copy this, paste, align to selected level. Now select second floor, third floor. That should be all good. They've been copied, and we are going to add this C3. So I'm going to check. And C3 goes from first floor to second, third, all the way to service. So first floor to service. Go to structure, column. I can place my C1 here. Then I edit type, duplicate, create a C3 like that. Same dimensions. I can rotate it, use MV, and position it here. I change it to service floor, ground floor, like that. And I can copy this. I'm pretty sure. Yes, we have a C3 here. Now let's see. That doesn't look like there's any other column type that we missed. Alright. So I can move to second floor just to check. Everything seems to be here. If we go to 3D, you have this. Yeah. You have this here. We'll change C3. I was supposed to start at first floor. Right, yes. And this is what we have. So we can go all the way to the service floor, since we have the second and third floors already covered. And this floor looks quite different. You can see that the beam types are also different. We have 600 by 225. We have some that are 300 by 225. So we're going to take our time and go to all of them. So structure, beam. We have a new type, which is 600 by 225. So I change this to 600 like that. And I start drawing. I'm going to draw all the 600 by 225 beams. So I have, let's see. Okay, we have another 600 by 225 beam over here. Goes all the way down to the column. Yes. Let's see. Okay, 600 by 225. Here. I'll align this. Create similar. We have another 600 by 225 here. Like that. Now let's see. That's 450 by 225. 450. Let's see. Okay. Doesn't look like we have any other 600 by 225 beam. So we can work on the 450 by 225 one. So edit type, duplicate, in this 450 by 225. Oh, we already have a 450 by 225 beam. Yeah, so I can just select it. We have a beam like that over here. No, I'm just going to draw it first and align it like that. We have another 450 by 225. So I'll draw it first and align. Okay. These ones are okay. We have 450 by 225 here. Oh, it's 450 by 150. All right. So we are going to draw two beams at this side. The first one is a downstand beam, which is 300 by 225. Let's see if we have 300 by 225. No, we don't. So we edit type, duplicate, 300, 225, and I'll change this to 300, and we can start drawing. So the beam starts here, ends here, ends here. Okay, we have another 300 by 225 beam that goes all the way down. You can end it here, align it like that. We have 300 by 225 here, end it here, and align it. And let's see, I'll turn off thin lines. So we have to add 300 by 225 over here as well. Starts here. To this point, and we align like that. Now we can copy these beams to the other side, just that they will be slightly out of position. So I select them like this, then you can use any of the mirror tools. So either pick axis. If I choose pick axis, choose axis 5. That's all we have. This actually looks okay. Looks okay to me. And we have some downstand beams. So those are the ones that we just placed, and also some upstand beams. So upstand beams start on the slab and point upwards, right? So all we do is we go to structure as usual, go to beam, and we have an upstand beam of 450 by 150 here. So we're going to edit type, duplicate, and we'll start the name with Upstand. So Upstand 450 by 225, like that. I change this to 450, apply. Now what we are going to do is we are going to change this Z justification, right, to bottom. What it means is it's going to start measuring the Z value from the bottom to the top. So if I was to place this beam, this new 450 by 150 beam like this to here, sorry, so this is supposed to be 150. I rename it to 450 by 150, like that. Now if I go to my 3D view, good, you see that it's on top, right, while the other beams are pointing down, like that. Alright, so let's go back to service floor, and we can add the other 450 by 150 beams. Like that. And there's like that. We have another one here. Another one to here, to this point. I don't want it to go all the way there. Okay, we'll deal with that later. This is just one of the things Revit does sometimes, very annoying. we have another 50 by 50 upstand here. Yeah, you see the tiny extension here. I would usually cut this part off. I would usually cut it off, so we could use this split tool, right? But let's first look at everything in 3D. Yeah, so these are actually our roof cutters. They look okay, and what we are going to do is we are going to select all like that, and we're going to be using the mirror tool to mirror to the other side. Good. So now I have all of the upstand beams. Seems like we have everything. So the next thing we'll draw is a slab. So I go to structure, floor, structural, and you see we can see the slab symbols. So they tell us where the slabs are supposed to be, and we have this void over here. So this is where we're going to have our roof framing. That's the rafters and the purlins. We're not going to be drawing any slab over here. So I go to rectangle, and the slab is just going to be, I'll end this here. I'll align like this. I'll use the line tool. I'll draw the slab to this area like that. I'll come here. Let me just drag this up, drag it to this side, and you see that the slab moves just a little like that, comes down here to here like that, it goes up. And then we have that. So there's the shape of the slab, and we're going to add the space for the staircase as usual. So I could even use something like this. Don't worry, we'll check. I'll check to make sure it's aligned properly. I'm going to OK. This is my floor slab. So if I go to my 3D view, yeah, everything looks okay. Yeah, it looks okay. It's just those slight extensions that Revit is adding. Anyway, back on the service floor, we have some columns here. So I see C4, another C4 here. Then I also see some VSFs. So these are vertical stiffness for the parapet walls on the service floor. So we're going to add C4. Let's check from my structural model. So C4 starts on the service floor, goes up by 2190. So this looks like the upper roof. It looks like it ends at the upper roof. So go back to service floor, go to structure, select column, and place my C4. Edit type changes to upper roof, change it to service floor like that. Move it to position, and now edit type, duplicate, rename this to C4 like that. Alright, we have another C4 on the other side. Yes, now let's see. Good, we have another C4 here. There should be another one on this side, and we should also have, yes, let's align these ones. We have some C4s here. Let's copy this. Alright, seems like we have all of the main columns. So we're going to add the vertical stiffness. We have two types, so VSF1, VSF2. Yeah, let's check. Okay, so they are now on this. Let's look at the service floor plan. Good. We have VSF1 and VSF2. Have you added 3D views? So it's a nice thing about Revit. You can add 3D views of everything. Have you added a 3D view of the service floor itself? VSF1 starts at service floor and goes up by 1440. 1440. So we can go back to service floor and actually let's check the dimensions of the VSF. So section JJ like this, it's 150 by 150. This one is also 150 by 150. It's 1440. Alright, so service floor, go to structure, choose column, VSF1. I can't see it, so I can change this to wireframe. Right now I can see where the column is supposed to be. Yes, so this place, I'm sure you guys can see now. So I select this, edit type, duplicate, VSF1 like that, change this to 150, 150, apply, and it's been changed. It's been placed over here. I'll switch back to thin lines. I'll change this to service floor, right? Then I'll make the top offset 1440. Actually, let me make this lower roof, right? Make this 0 for now. Change this to service floor, and I can check it in one of the views, but I see that it's not aligned properly. Okay, seems to be okay now. I'll go to my north elevation, and I actually think it's in the right position. To confirm that, we can import one of the sectional views. Let's see. So insert, import CAD, section. Okay, we have a section AA. Let's see section BB. Good. So it should be section BB. And just move this into place. So 1A. Okay, so this actually has to be flipped. This is it. So I can use the rotate to zoom in grid line 5. And just flip it to the other side like that, 180. So I go back to where are we? North elevation. Yes. And I can move 9A to 9A, and it looks like everything is in position. Now we were supposed to check the vertical stiffness. Yes. Alright, so it seems like you need to raise it slightly. This part was supposed to be filled by the architectural components, but it's not going to be in line with what we have over here. So you can raise this. Let's see if it's actually up to 1440. No, so it's not. So what I'll do is I'll offset this. Let's check the offset amount. $26. I think that should be fine. Yeah, 26 should be fine. So I go back to service floor. And I'll copy VSF1 to everywhere I see VSF1. That should be it. So I can select all the VSF ones visible in view. Like I use the mirror tool. Just select grid line 5 like that. And the VSF ones have also been placed here. I'll do the same with VSF2. I think the difference between VSF1 and 2 is in the height. So I can copy this for now. Bring it to here since there's a VSF2 here. And let's check from this file. So VSF2, which is 1090. I go back to service floor. VSF2, edit type, duplicate. VSF2, same dimensions. Good. We have VSF2 here. So let's go to the north elevation. This is VSF2, right? It's supposed to be lower. So it's only supposed to reach a height of 1090. Let's see where it reaches now. Let me just 0. And let me try negative 250. Oh, I made it 1250. Negative 250. Negative 250. 1100. So negative 270. And we have 1090. Alright. So we go back to service floor. Select this, copy, and place this everywhere we have VSF2. Like that. Like that. That's all. So I'll select all instances visible in view and use my mirror tool again. And yeah, let's look at a 3D view. Good. Now we have everything. Let's turn off this section. Seems like we have everything now. Seems like we have everything now. You have the columns. And let me change back to hidden line. You have the columns here. Columns here. You have the hole for the staircase. So we can move to the next level, which is the upper roof. Good. There's the upper roof. Can start by drawing the beams. And we even have a new vertical stiffness type. So we have 450 by 225 beams and 300 by 150 upstands. Let's see if that's consistent with all of them. Yeah, 450 225. All right, so a good structure, select beam, change this to 450 by 225, and I draw. Now I'll align the beam here. Let's see, this one aligned, and change to wireframe. Yeah, it seems aligned. There's actually a slab here, so I assume this is also 450 by 225. No, this is actually an upstand beam, so it's 300 by 150. So what we'll do is we'll check if there are any 450 by 225 beams. We don't have anything else like that, so we can draw upstand beams now. So 300 by 150, and if I draw this like that, and sorry, it was supposed to be, oh, so it's a different beam type. The upstand is a 300 by 150 upstand. So edit type, I'll duplicate. That's why I was getting confused. 300 by 150, like that. Change this to 300. Apply. Then, as usual, okay, Z justification is set to bottom. Let's look at it in 3D. Oh, when we're placing these ones, we should have changed the Z justification back to top, right? So that the upstands will be like this. So make sure that after placing your upstands for any new beam, you set your Z justification back to bottom, right? Right, so back to upper roof. We have this. We create similar. We draw all the way to here. We move it into position. Create similar again. We draw to here. Move into position. Can move it to here. Like that. Create similar again. You can start here. Move it into position. Yeah, so that's all we have. Then there's one last one here. Like that. And I'll move it into position. Alright. Let's look at that in 3D. Good. Everything seems okay. This is also another Revit thing. Like this space over here. Another annoying thing that Revit does sometimes. But aside that, we at least have the basic structure. Right? Everything looks okay. Let's go back to upper roof. Sometimes I try extending I can select this one, try extending it, and yeah, it works. But anyway, when we draw our columns, our vertical stiffness, it won't show. If even after extending, you still have that issue. Anyway, so we have a VSF3. Let's add VSF3. I'll not save for now. So structure, column. I'll just place one column, change it to, oh, so we're supposed to check. Let's look at the north elevation. Where is our lower roof, our upper roof? Upper roof is here. So it means our upper roof, yes, the upper roof we specified, right? It's actually different from the upper roof in this file. It's actually different. So I'll move the upper roof down. Don't worry. Once I move the upper roof, anything that is on the upper roof will also move like that. Let's look at it in 3D. So this is what it's supposed to look like. Then we have the stiffness. Good. So the stiffness extends from the upper roof level. Let's go back to upper roof. I select this. It's still upper roof. Make the top offset. I just want to be able to see it, so I make this 500. Make this also upper roof like that. Now I go back to north. Good, I see it now. So this is supposed to go from here to here. It's supposed to be 824. So I'll change this to 824 like that. And yeah, it's been moved. So if I go to 3D, we see the slides extension. So I go back to service floor, sorry, upper roof. Go back to my upper roof, select this, edit type, duplicate, name this VSF3. And I change everything to 150 like that, and I move this into position. Good. And I copy. The alignment seem okay. Yeah. All right. So that's what we have. That's what we have. Seems like we've added everything. Let me save my structural model now. Okay, so if we were to go back to insert, manage links, and reload the architectural file, we'll probably see that the level of the service floor, yes, it now corresponds with that of what we have in the structural model. So I can change can go to VV, go to Revit links, and turn off underlay. Good. And in real time, we can visualize everything. See if the columns and the walls are in the correct positions. Looks like they are. We were supposed to add these short walls. Seems like we didn't add them in the architectural model, so you could add them, the walls that come here, right? Now you can use the section box as usual, drag down, and yeah, you see all the walls and the columns. I can change this to something like realistic. Good. So you see the concrete material, see the wall material. You can see there are no serious conflicts, right? Everything seems to be in good position. Looks like the only thing that's left for now is the roof itself. So let's go back to service floor, right? The roof on the service floor level is going to be here in this space and here, right? There's a second service floor file. So what we are going to do is we are going to go to importer categories, turn off the first service floor file, this one, apply, then we go to import card. This time we select the second one because that's the one with the roof framing. Alright, so here it is. You can tell that we have rafters here, spacing of 1050. There are also purlins with a spacing of 525. Okay, so to be able to draw our rafters and purlins, we need to first make sure we have a beam family that is wood, right? So go to structure, go to beam, and let's load in a wood family. So you go to load family, and you should probably be in the English Imperial folder like this. This is not what we want. So you go back, select English, select UK, and look for structural framing. So I see it over here. Go to structural framing, then you go to wood, and you select the timber family. So this timber one, this very one. Click on open, and you can choose any of the dimensions. We're not going to be using these exact dimensions anyway. You can choose this one, click on OK, like that, and it's been imported. What we are going to do is click on beam, and we are going to change the existing timber family. I've already created a timber 150 by 50, so you can edit this 114 by 1141, create a new 150 by 150 timber family, and that should be fine. Once you do that, we now need to create some reference planes for our rafters and purlins. Now think of reference planes as reference lines that you use in placing stuff. Because these rafters and purlins are not horizontal, we can't use levels, so like the service floor level, as a reference plane for the beam system, else they'll be horizontal. So let's go to our west elevation, and I have already imported the section AA DWG. So if you haven't, you do the same in the west elevation, and we should see these beams are actually the rafters. So I see a rafter here on the upper roof. I also see another rafter here on the lower roof. These are what we are going to be using, right? So to draw a reference plane, you go to structure, and you should see a reference plane here on the work plane. you click, or you can use the shortcut RP and you start drawing. So the reference plane doesn't need to be the same length as the beam. You can end it somewhere like this. Then we are going to name it. So you should see click to name. I'll name it upper roof rafters, like that. Then we do the same over here. Name this service floor rafters, like that, and that should be okay. So we have two reference planes now. So let's go back to service floor, and we're going to start drawing the beam system. So we go to structure, like this, select beam system over here. Beam system helps because when we use the beam system, we don't have to draw all of the beams individually anymore. And the first thing we'll do is we'll check our fixed spacing. So I've set mine to 1050. If yours isn't, change it to 1050. And make sure your beam type is set to timber 150 by 50. Another thing you can change is the layout rule. So you can either use fixed distance or something like maximum spacing. So typically we use maximum spacing. You can change this to 1050. And we are going to set our work plane to the reference planes that we added. So set work plane, pick a plane, and we choose. So for this one, since we are drawing on the service floor, choose service floor rafters, like that. And we can now draw the boundary of the beam system. In our case, it's going to fill this space. So this is the boundary. So I'll change to rectangle. And I'll draw something like this up to here. Right, this should be okay. Before you confirm everything, you have to look at the beam direction. So think of the beam direction as the parallel line in which the beams in the beam system will be placed. Currently, the beam direction is set to this line. You can see that it has some two other lines on it. What it means is that if I was to click on OK here, beams to be drawn like that. But these are the rafters. We want the rafters to follow this line, like that. So we click on beam direction here, click on this line. You see now that this line is now the line for the beam direction. So if I go to OK like that, our beams have been drawn. Now the reason we don't see them on the service floor is they are slightly higher than the service floor level, remember, but we can fix that. So if you keep pressing escape till now, you see structural plan, and you go all the way to extents and look for view range. You can edit the view range and change, maybe change the top to something like 1200. Change the cut plane as well to something like 1200. Now if we apply, good, you see that our beam system is showing. I don't want these tags, right? So I'll just delete them. And if for any reason you feel like the beams are not enough, I feel like I want to increase mine, you can keep hovering your mouse, right, till you see these lines, these dashed lines. So once you select the dashed lines, you can edit the beam system, and I can reduce the maximum spacing to say 800. Good. Now you see we now have some more beams. If I reduce it even more, good. You get where I'm going with this. We have even more. You can also actually move the beams individually. So as it stands right now, it's pinned. You can see we have these two circles here. I can unpin this, move it to the edges if I wanted to, but this is fine for me. Now that we have the rafters drawn, we can draw the purlins. So to do that, we go to beam system again and make sure we are using the right spacing. The purlins are going to be spaced at 525. So I'll change this to 525. make sure the reference plane has been set as a work plane, and I draw the boundary again. So I use this. Like that. And this time the beam direction is actually at the right point, since the purlins are going to follow along like this. So I click on OK. Good. Our purlins have been drawn. Now I want to remove all of these tags, but I don't want to select them one by one. So I can select one, right click, select all instances visible in view. See that I selected all the tags for the beams, and just delete. If we were to look at this in 3D, we would realize that the rafters and purlins would actually be intersecting, because yeah, we use the same reference plane for them. If I go to 3D, good, you see that they're actually intersecting. This is not what we want. So we are going to raise the purlins above the rafters. I can look for the rafters beam system. Let's see. Good. So I kept pressing tab till I cycled, and I can see that now I have the purlins beam system selected. And I'll go to my west elevation. Right, before I try to move the beam system, I need to dissociate it from the work plane. So you notice that there is this icon over here. If you click on it, you can now move the beam system. So I can move it up like that, which is too much, so I'll move it again and drag this to this point. Right, so it sits on top nicely. If I was to now look at it in 3D, good, we have this, which is fine. So I'll select these two beam systems, go back to my service floor, and just mirror them to the right side. Good. So you have the beam system on the left and right. We'll do the same for the upper roof. So I go to my upper roof now. Our beam system is supposed to come all the way to here. Right. So I go to structure, go to beam system, sketch beam system. I set my work plane. This time it's not going to be service floor rafters, but upper roof rafters. Make sure you do that. Then I click on OK. We are going to draw the rafters first, so we start with 1050. We can reduce it to 800 or 700 like we did for the first one. So I start with 1050. Make sure beam type is set to the correct timber, and I click on the boundary. So you can actually make the boundary start from somewhere like this. It doesn't matter too much. At any point you can edit it, right? So don't worry too much. And I make it end here like that, and we are going to change the beam direction. So I click here, select this line, click on OK. Good. And the rafters have been added successfully. We go to 3D, we see them here. So I can go back to upper roof and draw the purlins. Go to beam system, I draw again. I think I use this point. And this time we'll make sure that the beam direction is set here and the spacing is changed to 5 to 5. Yes, 5 to 5, 550, whichever one you want to use, as long as it looks okay for you. Now I can see that we don't see all of the beams, right? Because we need to increase the extent of this upper roof level. So if I go to view range, you can set it to same 1200, apply, and now you can see all of them. But remember that we also need to move the purlins above the rafters. So if I go to my west elevation, good, you see the purlins are at the same point. So we dissociate by clicking here. Once you click, you type MV, and you can move up like that. Good. And in our 3D view, this is what we have. So everything actually looks okay. We can load back our architectural file. So I go to insert, go to manage links, select the architectural model, reload it. And this is what we have. You see, everything looks nice. Everything looks nice. Just that, like I said, we will need to add these walls in the architectural file. Walls here. Yeah. Okay, so just this wall. And everything seems to be all right. So congratulations, everyone. We've actually been able to draw. So we've been able to model both the architectural and the structural model. So in the next video, we are going to be diving deep into some of the BIM concepts, right? I tried to create a couple of videos to help with the various parts of the projects that you're working on. So I'll see you in the next video. But one thing you can do is for each of the levels, you see how the grids are now appearing on the other side. You can add in the bubbles. You can hide, for example, the DWGs. Make sure all of your grids are looking nice. You drag them to a point. You add your dimension lines. You do all of that. Just make these look as presentable as possible. And in the next video, before we go into the BIM stuff, I'll show you how to change the colors of the various components. So you see that if I go to my file, right, I have colors for the beams, different colors for the columns. See, the columns are blue, beams are red. You can do stuff like that. I'll show you how to do all of that. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video, and congratulations for getting to this point.